Hi, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. Week 10 recap is finally here, and obviously had quite a good amount of great games. Some not so good games for our teams, but we'll just get right into it. Start with the Thursday nighter, Christian.
Yeah, so man, this is a really close matchup towards honestly the end of the game there. Excuse me. We thought it was gonna be just like a straight up blow up from this Ravens team, but it looked like the Bengals they're finally starting to pick it up towards the second quarter and to the second half there. And Joe Burrow once again he's leading his offense there. I mean, he can only do so much, man. And I mean another 400-yard plus game for him, 4 touchdowns. But again, this is when the defense comes into play here and they're really letting down in the second half there. It was just touchdown after touchdown of the Bengals and the Ravens exchanging of Lamar Jackson, capitalizing off his MVP season, having another better season for himself. Derrick Henry finally getting the whole receiving guys involved there. And the defense also stepping up towards the end there. Sure, you could say there were a lot of missed holding calls, on the final drive on the 2-point conversion, which there was there, but officiating you can keep playing up it. It's been horrible all season long. But the Bengals should not have been at the position, and the defense did not let down that offense throughout the whole game. During the Jamar Chase, being the spotlight of this game, 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. But again, it wasn't enough because of the struggling Bengals defense there. And the Ravens, they're on the top once again there, but it's only gonna be a matter of time until those little calls aren't gonna be in favor of them.
Yeah, obviously we know about the officiating, but I mean, look, Lamar Jackson, obviously the reigning MVP. He's outperforming how he looked last season. So
Yeah.
like we've been saying, he looks well on his way for a third in his career. And moving into the Sunday slate, we got one final international game with our Munich game. And Kirsten, I don't know what the people of Germany did. I mean, okay, we know what they did, but yeah, I guess this is their retribution for the past Giants Panthers, a battle of 2-7 teams. And look, for what it's worth, I mean, hey, it was a pretty ugly game, but down the stretch, we got overtime football in our international series. And I mean, look, for the Panthers, their first winning streak since I believe it was November 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Just overall, as ugly as it was, Bryce Young didn't look great, but managed a decent enough win. Chuba Hubbard over 100 yards, fresh off that contract extension, like I said, over 100 and a touchdown. And look, the defense showed out. I mean, a lot of it, let's say, was on Daniel Jones, but 3 interceptions just in general, and holding the Giants to 17 points. Just, I mean, a great defensive showing for the Panthers. And look, for the Giants, I mean, obviously the big story, the Tyrone Tracy fumble to set up the Panthers to get that game-winning field goal in overtime. But just in general, I mean, Tyrone Tracy had a great game overall, so we can't put too much on him. It was just one mistake, just pretty crucial. And for Daniel Jones, nothing new. He's been the problem. He's been the main concern for this offense. Most of those interceptions, they were ugly. They were on him, specifically down in the red zone on a drive that they could have taken the lead and not even had to go to overtime. But look, I mean, a lot of people believe it could be it for him as the starter. I would not be surprised if we see Drew Lock to come into this in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, tensions are finally going to start hitting up in New York there. But as for the Panthers, it's fun to see Bryce Young's finally starting to get accustomed to the whole Carolina team. And now moving on with the Patriots and the Bears. And as boring as it is, this is more in favor of the Patriots. I mean, come on, that defense of the Patriots really stepped up against this Bears offense, who has been, somewhat getting explosive when they were 4-2 there. Obviously, the loss of the Cardinals kind of put it down a bit, but the Bears, they're in a slump there. And we're starting to see what Caleb Williams is again, how he was in the first quarter of the season there, and just wasn't getting the pass game going. I mean, come on, 30 attempts, 16 completed, 120 yards, no touchdowns at all. He had a rating of 60. His QBR was 13 and a half. I mean, you just can't be putting up with that type of stuff. Then sure, yeah, the O-line wasn't holding up. His run game was in there too. And the receiving game, you bring in Keenan Allen and you bring in DJ Moore to kind of, that should be a 1-2 punch to kind of help, set aside for Roma Dunze to kind of step up for a bit there. But this receiving core is not helping them out either. Keenan and DJ, they can't get open. They're not going to stay, not doing all that. Gonzo did a great job on standing on 10 toes between them there. But in the defense of this Bears team, who has surprisingly been good for the past couple of weeks, it's been having a letdown. This whole team's having a letdown. Matt Eberflus, I don't know how he is still in the coaching position for the Chicago Bears team. I would expect him to get fired if the Bears continue in another losing streak, 2-3 more games maybe. We're just going to see what Ryan Clark does in the future there. But for the Patriots, this was just a straight beatdown defensively there. Dolphins with Drake May, he had a pretty okay game. Run game was going for them with Ramondre Stevenson. Receiving core was same as always. But again, another nice win for Drake May. Finally get him, once again, another rookie quarterback getting accustomed with that offense of the Patriots.
Yeah, obviously very excited to see him, really get it going. Obviously someone I was a little higher on, and finally see him getting it a little accustomed. Nice to see for Drake May. But moving into the Bills and the Colts, and honestly expected this one. I mean, sure, it was a 10-point game, say what you want, but expected this to have a much of a wider margin. And I mean, we see in large part, Josh Allen wasn't playing his best game, had 2 interceptions. He did have a rushing touchdown, but nothing in the pass game. So like we're saying, this was one of those, I mean, those older type of Josh Allen games that, he almost loses the game. But in all reality, the Bills defense was a great piece. I mean, 3 interceptions themselves, 1 pick six, which in large part, really set the tone from the start. I believe it was the first or second drive that they got Flacco for that pick six. But I mean, in general, great defensive showing. And, as much as the offensive struggles, you can almost understand it considering they don't have Keon, they don't have Amari. So there's some stuff to look at. I mean, look, they're 8-2, and, this win, it counts all the same. So regardless, just a great, great to get this win, pull it out, specifically because you got a very tough game against the Chiefs coming up. Great to not let this become a trap game. And for the Colts, I mean, Jonathan Taylor kind of becoming the only bright spot. Him having over 100 yards is not really translating much in the grand scheme of things. But I think the biggest story, Joe Flacco continues to struggle. He just does not look good. I mean, I know the Colts schedule is looking a little rough. They're gonna have to play some good defenses, but in all reality, let's get Aaron Ridge back in there. I mean, let's let him just, gain a little more experience. Let's let him develop. And, in all reality, the season does look lost. Just get him back in there and, really start getting some reps.
Yeah, at this point, like you said, may as well just get Aaron Ridge back. Joe Flacco's not like to cut it there. I mean, they kind of held their own against the Bills there. It was an ugly win for them there, but at this point, just see what he has left in the tank and write it off for the last couple games of the season. And now moving on with another great division battle with the AFC West, the Broncos and the Chiefs. And let's just say, Bo Nix, man, even in a loss, even in a terrible loss that probably shouldn't have been a loss. Let's all be real here, but he really showed out against this Kansas City Chiefs team and against a team with a really high-powered defense, and he was getting it going in the first half. He got the lead over the Chiefs in the beginning. He was really getting the offense going. He was slinging the ball. The run game wasn't really much of a factor there. It was really just the pass game. And Bo Nix, he was comfortable in the pocket. His O-line was blocking for him. His receivers, they were spreading out. Cortland Sutton was finally having a game for himself there. And everything was just going good for this Broncos team. And then their defense, once again, PS2 doing it, getting it done. He was on the Hopkins, I believe he was on Hopkins majority of the game there. For the most part, he did log on, which really didn't play a huge factor in that there. But again, with the Chiefs, I don't know what kind of dark magic they got there in the second half to finally get it going. But Patrick Mahomes laying up some targets to Travis Kelce, so he's finally getting over them for himself there. Kareem Hunt, very slow game on the ground there. So once again, Patrick Mahomes, another game. There's just a shootout between both these QBs there, and it just really went down to the block field goal that really set up the Chiefs to win this game, which is really, really unfortunate. This is a really good game from Bo Nix there. It was really, I don't know, we picked the Chiefs to win. We're hoping he's going to roll out with the win with how well he played there, but it's really looking nice for Bo Nix in the future for this Broncos.
Yeah, obviously, Carbs continues to be in shambles. It was a great showing. And like you're saying, the dark magic, that's the only reason the Chiefs pulled this out. We'd be having a lot of a different conversation if Bo Nix was the guy to end the Chiefs' unbeaten streak. But we'll move it into the Falcons and the Saints. And this is just a weird game. I mean, the Saints finally closed out that 7-game losing streak. Looks like all it took was getting rid of Dennis Allen, man. I mean, Darren Rizzi, definitely looks like he, brought in I wouldn't call it a culture change, but he revitalized the locker room, and the Saints definitely look like a different team. To give the Falcons, one of the hotter teams in the league, a battle like they did, it says a lot about what Rizzi's doing into these guys. And biggest story, Marquez Valdez-Scantling legacy game. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, on 3 receptions too. So obviously 66% of those receptions going for 6. Just a huge jolt for this offense and this defense in large part, really stepping up. Gotta give it up to Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, sealing it with that interception late on Kirk Cousins. But let's talk about the Falcons. In large part, it was just missed opportunity after missed opportunity to really kill this team. 465 yards of total offense, all for nothing. To only get 17 points out of that, and which I know we can put a lot of this on Younghoe Koo. Missing 3 kicks, one of the most reliable kickers in the league, to have a just one of the worst off days you can. I mean, there's so much that you can look into this, but a just a divisional game like this against the Saints, you really do need to get it. And I mean, the Buccaneers, as much as they're kind of staying back, they could start making a run back into this division if the Falcons start dropping games like this.
Yeah, this is just a rush showing up for the Falcons and Kirk Cousins there. You would expect for how depleted the Saints team is. It is a division battle. You would hope that he goes to a good win there, but Derek Carr, he showed out against the Falcons and obviously really got a lot of help from Younghoe Koo missing all those field goals. And now moving on with the Niners and the Buccaneers, and this was a really great game to be expected there. But let's just say Baker Mayfield, once again, box score wise, you can look at it and say he had a horrible game, but he really did all he could with the weapons he was working with. I mean, you're missing Evans and you're missing Godwin. Your two top wideouts on that receiving end. Rashad White was his main receiving guy right there. You got to pay a lot of credit to this Buccaneers defense for trying to hold their own against this Niners team. Towards the second half, this was just Baker trying to extend the drives, trying to extend what they can, and this is all the rushing attack with Bucky Irving, who's the rookie. 13 carries, 73 yards, and 1 touchdown. He played such a huge factor to kind of get this game tied up in the fourth, right? But once again, Brock Purdy beating the allegations, and he led the Niners to a pretty nice comeback win, 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. And obviously, a little overpowered. They got Christian McCaffrey back. He didn't have a great game, 13 carries, 39 yards, and he played majority of the snaps there. That's what Shanahan wanted to do, was since get majority of the snaps. But obviously, still looking a little rough from that injury. So obviously, not playing in a lot of months there. So he's obviously going to be a little bit slow there. Juwan Jennings being their main guy, finally stepped up to that role at the receiving end there. But once again, this Bucs team, once again with Baker, he can only do so much, man. He can only do so much there, and it just has to come to the defense, and he just has to save him for one of these times.
Yeah, with a depleted offense and a struggling defense, it's looking rough. And it's like what I said in that last game. The AFC South is starting to look up for grabs if all these teams start dipping. But we'll move it into Steelers and Commanders, and this was one of the surprises of the week. Or call it a surprise, call it Russ just cooking this game up, man. I mean, the Steelers look phenomenal offensively, which we were led to believe that the Steelers were going to be just a great defensive team, and hope the offense could keep up. The offense is definitely keeping up. I mean, Russell Wilson's just turning back the clock, looking phenomenal. And, like you say, those box score warriors can say, like, oh, he didn't even crack 200, say what you want. 3 touchdowns, he just led this game phenomenally. The receiving end, I mean, George Pickens, you have your own stuff to say about him. He had that beautiful touchdown to start this game. He had his own little shenanigans on that interception later on. But, I mean, regardless, a great game for Pickens. Mike Williams, the new acquisition, first reception as a Steeler to come as a game-winning touchdown. I mean, you couldn't write it any better than that. And like we talk about that defense, I mean, as much as sure, they gave up 27 points. You could say what you want there, but they stopped the Commanders when it mattered. They contained Jaden Daniels when it mattered. And obviously, they pulled out this win, specifically that 4th down stop, holding Zach Ertz, call it like a centimeter close on that 4th down. Just great for them. And look, for those Commanders, it's a tough loss to swallow. I mean, just in general, a lot of mental mistakes, a lot of drops in. That I believe it was Johnny Newton at the end that offside call that really solidified this loss. Really put the Steelers in victory formation. And I mean, the Commanders gonna have to clean up a lot of that sloppy play on a short week in a really tough divisional game against the Eagles coming up.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate loss for the Commanders there, but it was a great game, on the Steelers side for Russell Wilson. They finally got their quarterback so far, and, I love a relationship with Pickens, but like I said, all he needed was one competent quarterback for finally to show his true game in the receiving end. And now moving on to the boring game of the week so far, which is the Vikings and the Jaguars. And let's just say the Vikings, they're depleted. They're not scary at all. They're looking like the team that Sam Darnold was brought into, and he's finally starting to show once again his true colors there. I mean, 241 yards and 3 interceptions. I mean, you can say what you want. I know you mentioned it before. Is this really showing the true colors of Sam Darnold in this offense on how they're really going? Or is it just the Jags defense just doing really well? The Jags defense, they've been playing pretty good these past couple of weeks there. So you would expect them to, get on the teeth of this Vikings offense there. But it's just tough to see. And speaking of which, Justin Jefferson, he was contained for only 48 yards this game, alongside with Addison for 25. Hawkins was their main guy for 72. So this Jags team did a great job of containing Jefferson, which is their big man guy there. But they could have stopped Aaron Jones, and the run game is what kind of did help them there to get Sam Darnold off those interceptions kind of off his back there. But this Vikings defense, Brian Flores, that is their bright spot, right? They're looking still a little rough against this Jaguars team. They still solidify off 2 picks off Mac Jones there, but at the end of the day, this is still a rough showing for this Vikings team. And then looking at the remaining schedule, sure, they're 7-2. They're up there in the top of the seeds there. You got to worry a bit to see if Sam Darnold is going to pick up the pace here.
I mean, yeah, offensively, you can say all you want, but it's hard to call 7 points against it rough showing on defense. I mean, regardless of anything, I still got to show Brian Flores all the love for holding it down, even though it was a struggling Jaguars team. But you talk about boring games, we got another one coming right here. The Titans and the Chargers. The score might look a little enticing, but it was pretty much a snooze fest overall. I mean, for the Chargers, just overall, I gotta say, it's just a complete team effort. Overall, nothing really jumps out at you on the stat sheet. Kind of like the Packers, like what we talk about. No real number one receiver, at least last season. Everyone really just contributing their part. And defensively, 7 sacks. I know we can say all we want about a struggling Titans O-line, but you got to start showing some respect to this Chargers defense. Jim Harbaugh really got these guys coached up well, and forget the name of their DC, but specifically him to really maybe throwing his hat into the ring for some coaching candidacies. But I mean, look, just a phenomenal win for the Chargers. Keeping pace in that AFC playoff picture. And as for the Titans, I mean, this game looks close, but in all reality, just that garbage time touchdown to really made this scoreline look a little better. Just in general, overall, just a rough showing as a whole, pretty much after the opening drive touchdown that they did get. And I mean, this kind of just goes to show a lot more what we've been saying, that Will Levis, little by little, we keep seeing performances like this. Wouldn't be surprised, if he's on his way out. Wouldn't be surprised to see Mason Rudolph, kind of brought back into the picture, even with Will Levis healthy, maybe a couple weeks down the line.
Yeah, again, what's in this whole Titans team, it's really in shambles there. Their defense was just the only bright spot, can only do what they can there, but the whole quarterback situation with them is the reason why this Titans team is not going so far nowhere in the future. Now, unfortunately, moving on to my game, and once again, it's the same stuff every year there. You bring in Cooper Rush to lead the team there. The defense was looking pretty good in the first half, containing this Eagles team to, I believe it was only 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, believing that there. But, with Micah's return, it definitely did help a lot. It really made a difference for him to come back on that line there. They're getting to Jalen Hurts early. They're containing Saquon for the most part in the first half, same with the receiving end there. But the defense, they kind of just let it down, in the second quarter. The Eagles got a nice, really good cushion there. And it's in the second half, this is just off Philly. Once again, I got to give my credit to Jalen Hurts there, taking advantage of this depleted defense, find the weak spots there, especially on our quarterbacks, which is another weak spot there. 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. They kept off an interception there, but the way he was playing, using his legs, using his arm, he really took advantage of how depleted our Cowboys defense is there. And then AJ Brown, 109 yards, really had himself a game. Saquon still had himself a game there as well too. And this defense of the Eagles, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, the 2 rookies, finally making a name for themselves there. Sure, this offense, sure, without a quarterback, but you stop guys like CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. They did all they could to stop them, and that's exactly what they did there. So really nice to see that the Eagles are finally capping around for looking strong, dominant team at 7-2. So for the Cowboys, same problem still there. We got the sun, but that's the least of our concerns. Jerry still having his comments there. The quarterback situation, Cooper Rush is going to be remain the starter there at this point. Just write it out with Trey Lance to the rest of the whole season. You got nothing to lose. Thank for a high draft pick. The run game's still iffy. The receiving end's still not there, and it's just horrible, man. It's just really, really horrible.
Yeah, obviously just a rough showing. I mean, especially with the all the rants we get right at the end about the sun and all about the stadium. Just a rough showing for your Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, we'll move it on the last bit of this afternoon slate with the Jets and the Cardinals, and I mean, pretty eerily reminiscent to the Eagles-Cowboys game. Just an absolute shellacking. I mean, Kyler Murray, we every once in a while we get one of these efficient master classes. I mean, just his stat line in general, 22 for 24, 266 yards and a touchdown, and then not even to get into the 2 touchdowns he had on the ground. I mean, just overall a phenomenal game for Kyler. I know, we both love to see it, love seeing Kyler just really, show out with all this success. And not just Kyler, on the run game, 147 rush yards, really setting the tone early with that long, I believe, 50-yard run for James Conner that just kept him right about an inch out of the end zone, punch it in the next play. Just in general, just a complete game offensively, complete game defensively too for the Cardinals in general. And 4 wins in a row, comfortably at the top of the NFC West, look to be rolling. You just gotta hope that they can keep this going. But as for the Jets, I mean, we've been saying it for a while, but in all reality, they're finished. I mean, Aaron Rodgers looks washed. Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, the high-powered receiving duo, held to 72 yards, being absolute non-factors. And I mean, just another thing. I mean, look, I mean, former Cowboy Tyron Smith just looked awful. I mean, this O-line is already struggling, and him on the right side really making this even worse. And just overall, the Jets slowly, creeping all the way down in a struggling AFC playoff picture. They're pretty much out of it.
Yeah, again, it is nice to see Kyler and the Cardinals finally making a run there, so it's really still nice to see. And as for the Jets, nothing much again, just another disappointing season for them, coming along there. And now closing it out with the Sunday slate, the Sunday Nighter, and boy, this was a game, towards crushing the Lions and the Texans there. Jared Goff, doesn't matter if he throws 2 interceptions, 5 interceptions winning to this night, 10 interceptions. Somehow the Lions, they're going to come away with this win there. And unfortunately, this was all Texans game in the first half at all. The Texans, they're just going at it. CJ Stroud, he was getting this offense, adjusted to this Lions defense, who, they've really been picking up there. So you would expect CJ Stroud to kind of get this offense going early. Don't want to have any slow starts against this Lions team because we see how high power that offense is. But the run game with Mixon, the Tank Dell finally get adjusted there. Mechie, which is taking the place for Stephon Diggs, he had himself a game too, so he's finally showing up for that receiving end there. He was their leading receiver for 74 yards there as well. So there's really some bright spots on that offensive side there. But come to second half, this is where the Lions really clicked. They started taking advantage of the mistakes of the Texans with CJ Stroud's 2 interceptions. So this is really nice showing Gibbs on the run game finally starting to show out, and the exchange in the interceptions. It was trying to see who's going to win this, who's going to win that, who's going to win this. Jared Goff, the weapons around him. Jameis was picking it up. Laporta was picking it up. Everyone on this side, they were picking up. Amon-Ra was picking up towards the end as well there. So the pieces around him, Jared Goff, look at the interceptions. You can say all you want, but the pieces around him is what got him this one there. The defense stepped up against this Houston team here. D'Amico Ryans, I don't know what's up with him and not making adjustments at halftime when you have a lead like this. The memes just continue with D'Amico Ryan not being able to make these type of adjustments there. And this is one of the things that have been showing off with this Texans team. They're on a losing streak. They're 6-4 now. They're still on top of the AFC South there, but seedings-wise, it's a really big struggle for them. And then the Lions, they're up on top of there. We're just got to hope the interceptions and Jared Goff stops just thinking about wherever it is like that.
I think the one thing I cannot answer that is, I mean, you can't put it too much on D'Amico. In reality,
no, yeah, obviously,
I think you got to, I mean, if we're going to talk about, offensive, I think, it goes on Bobby Slowick, which, let's also be honest, he was such a big name for the head coaching candidates. I'm sure that name's kind of dropping down after this season because, I mean, like you're saying, failing to make adjustments and, just overall, the second half showing was just absolutely rough. And, Slowick's got a lot of answering to do for that. But, I mean, let's get it over with. The Monday Nighter, I was in attendance once again. I paid to go see this Dolphins, Rams, and I mean, just an absolute shitter offensively. I mean, defensively, that's what I just want to start with. Got to show so much love. I was so critical of them, and ever since, last couple weeks, the Rams defense has absolutely just stepped up. I mean, this game in particular, I mean, Jared Verse, haven't had anything bad to say about him, and just that continues, a strip sack, I think another sack a little later, just in general, just him being phenomenal. Got to say, it's looking more and more like a lock for Defensive Rookie of the Year for him. And look, I've been so critical about the linebackers, and in this game even they showed out. I mean, to Christian Roseman, a guy that I've been hating on for a while, getting a pick, and right after the pick, what ends up happening? The offense giving it right back. Kyron Williams, I don't want to say too much about him. Rough game. I mean, just in general, not much I can say, but you could talk about Kyron, you could talk about the receivers being non-factors. You could talk about the O-line being an issue, but I think in large part, even with the O-line issues, Matthew Stafford, the age is starting to show. It's hard for me to admit it. I got so much love for him, but, it's starting to look, Matthew Stafford, it might be time to hang it up. We'll wait and see, Still a lot of season, still a lot to be told. They're only 4-5, so, still is a time for a nice little bounce back, but it's looking rough for them. And as for Miami, I mean, hey, everything looked great. I mean, pretty much everything looked great. Tua, ever since he's come back, all these games, finally getting a win. But, the 3 games he's been back, he's looked phenomenal. The receiving core looked great. I guess I could say we could want a little more from the run game from Miami, but apart from that, the offense is rolling. Defensively, they didn't really look phenomenal, but with a struggling Rams offense, didn't really become a factor. And, like I said in a couple of these games, that AFC playoff picture, it is struggling. Miami, even at 3-6, they're still very much alive for that 7th seed.
Yeah, one of the things I did say about the Rams, it was Stafford's age. He's going to start to finally show, and this happened in this game. Their defense did all they could, but obviously Stafford let him down for one of the rare occasions there.
Yeah, just so rough to see him. But like I said, we still got time. Maybe some turnaround can end up happening. But that does wrap up the games for the week. Christian, you're creeping up little by little. You got one on me this one. You're only down 8 if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, still predictions have been going well. Hope to keep that going as the season continues. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe, and we'll see you right back for Bean Talk.